are you doing?
Doing good.
John? Yeah.
Getting ready for the madness, the stretch run in October.
Okay, does September mean anything if you're playing really good or really bad, in your opinion?
No. The only thing it means is if you have a young player or two getting ready for the postseason for the first time, I'd rather him individually be doing well rather than coming in 0 for 20 or losing his last 4 games. But for a team, look, you could win 15 in a row and the season ends. You're going to have 5 days off.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean as much. I'm not a big believer in that. I would rather have players that have never experienced the postseason have success leading into it versus the other.
More impressive or surprising that the Dodgers would have an 11-game losing streak or that the Indians would win 20 in a row?
Man, they're both polar opposites of what you ever think could happen. I never thought the Dodgers, they're going to go through their bad stretch, but I never thought they'd lose 15 out of 16, 11 in a row. Kershaw twice pitching. So to me, that is what they were doing is more shocking than the fact that Cleveland, which is incredible, has gone on to win 21 games.
I look at Cleveland because they went to the World Series. They were 1 win away from winning the World Series. They got on a great run, and I'm not as surprised with that. It's still phenomenal, but the Dodgers losing 11 in a row after people were ready to christen them the greatest team of all time, that to me is what's surprising. But if you're Dave Roberts of the Dodgers, how do you say to your team, forget about that? Like that, that's an anomaly. That's an aberration. That's not who we are, even though you went through this.
Yeah, it's hard. When you're going good, you don't have to. You just pass the baton on. No one feels like they have to pitch a shutout for the Indians. But when you're going bad, everybody individually thinks, I got to pitch a shutout. And you start pressing in ways that even the great teams go through a stretch that I think will benefit them in the long run. Not that anyone wants to lose 10 or 11 in a row, but he's got some veteran guys. So on the Dodgers, if Bellinger and some of the young guys start experiencing long droughts, that might concern me a little bit. But this is a very good team that's going to line up 4 days after the season starts with Kershaw. I think I'd feel good.
But you also look at the Indians, and now they're all in on this winning streak. It's like when the Miami Heat had that winning streak, now everybody's got to play, and every game's important. And it's important for the Indians where you're not going to be resting somebody, taking somebody out of the rotation, giving somebody a day off, because you have a chance to continue to make history.
You do, and I think more than that, you have a chance to get, which was inconceivable. Yeah, that was not even within the reach. Now you're forced to think about that, and rightfully so. If this was a week to go in the season or 3 days to go, I don't think they'd put as much emphasis on this. Health would be number one because they've secured everything. But the fact that they can play, and they have played without 3 starters, they've played without Andrew Miller, they've allowed a lot of young guys to check in. What I think is the most impressive thing about the streak is Bauer now feels like he is where he should be. Like, when I talk about a streak, Bauer and Clevenger are the 2 guys that have benefited because you didn't have them at this level last year.
Yeah.
Now Bauer thinks he's not going to lose. That's an awesome feeling for the Indians. Clevenger, same thing. You've got a more balanced pitching staff than they had last year.
And you got Kluber, too.
Yeah, Kluber's he's possibly going to win another Cy Young. He's in as big and as good as a groove you'll ever see. And, he gets so excited, too, when he pitches. It's like I wish he would tone down the emotions. He's awesome. I love watching him pitch, and he was so pressed up against last year. He had to try to pitch. Well, he pitched on 3 days rest, I think, 4 different times.
But how much of your aggression, because he has a personality, I'm sure, but he doesn't show it at all.
Right.
He flatlines at all. When you were on the mound, can your ego get the better of you? Did you allow your ego to get the better of you?
Oh, yeah. Early on, I had to learn somewhere between, Glavine and Denny Nagel is where I needed to be because I was more of an emotional guy. I fed off of that. And I learned how to hide some of it because I wasn't good early on. I let my emotions show. And whereas Kluber is more like Glavine, very stoic. You're not going to know what's going on inside, and you're not going to know if he's got if he doesn't have it that day.
But then you want to throw a fastball by a guy right? You got macho on the mound, didn't you?
Yeah, and I learned how to channel that too. What I loved about the postseason, I wish I could have had in the regular season, but I could have never made it. I'd have been. There's no way I could pitch a regular season game like I did a postseason game. It's almost stored up energy, stored up adrenaline, and I loved it so much that I wanted more of that than I wanted of the regular season games. But when you get to that point, there is a channeled energy that hopefully most guys can go to. If not, you will be more ramped up, and you will be more you'll give in to situations you wouldn't have done in the regular season.
You faced a lot of Hall of Famers, and it's weird how we look at a pitcher. You could get him out 7 out of 10 times, but people are going to remember, yeah, didn't he take you deep?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
What bothers you? Does somebody bring up something where you go, yeah, but I got him out too. I struck him out.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, I had decent average numbers against Barry Bonds, but they bring up that both he and Ian Maddox gave up the most home runs to him, 9 home runs. And, you know, that the playoffs, he never really got me when it mattered. Now, so that doesn't matter. They say, yeah, you give him 9 home runs to Barry Bonds. The one that gets me, honestly, that I still think that I was so – all right, so it's back in the old St. Louis Stadium. I'm closing. I thought I was coming in the game in the 8th inning with 2 outs in a 1-run game, and instead I came into the 8th inning after a tie game on the road as the closer, and I'm not kidding you. I was so mad. It was back in left field. I walked through. Chipper's playing left field. Albert Pujols is up, tie game, and he says something to me, and I said, don't even get me started. That's a wrong mindset to come into a game. I'm so mad that I'm in this game at the point that I am.
So you're not, it's a closeout situation. It's a tie game.
Yeah, I had been up. It was 2-0, and I think Horacio Ramirez was pitching a gem. He gave up a solo home run. I flipped the ball to the bullpen coach because Bobby came out. I knew I was coming in. Well, I didn't come in, so I sat down. And then he gave up another run, and now I'm coming in. And so I'm as mad as I've ever been. Pujols is at the plate. I tried to throw 100 miles an hour, and he hit it to the Big Mac land. We lost the game. And the worst part about it, in the clubhouse, the old clubhouse, they had these curtains that separated the locker room to the training room. And for some reason, I looked at the curtains as if they were laughing at me. And I attacked these curtains with both hands, and I tried to rip them off the hinge. They were metal reinforced, and I had, on the plane flight, 2 ice bags on both my thumbs. I thought I broke my thumb. So that didn't go well at all. And I learned a huge lesson of aggression. Well, in this role, does not play well. And luckily, I didn't break my thumbs.
Would you have made up a story to the media if it had kept you out of an appearance?
Wow. Yeah, I would have probably been brutally honest, even though I'm brutally honest about something that never happened to me that was in Sports Illustrated. I don't think at this point it doesn't matter, right?
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter.
And that's not where I was going, but it's nice that you brought it up. So you had a water steamer, and then you burned yourself.
So
I was not bringing that up today, by the way.
So many people think that I had ironed a shirt while I was wearing it, which is such a joke. And I didn't run with that 25 years ago.
But you got to stay with it, John.
I should have made a marketing plan out of it.
Yes.
You missed the boat on that one.
But once again, it was a steamer.
It was a portable steamer.
Yeah, you didn't burn yourself.
No, it was a little watermark that everyone thought I had a hickey. It turned into like 3 burns all over my body.
3rd-degree burns?
Yeah, so, if I would have probably been honest to a fault there and said that the curtains were laughing at me.
Then it would be curtains foiled again. Smoltz gives up home run to Albert Pujols. Yes, Paulie.
I just Googled, John, I found at least 40 stories that say you once missed a start because you ironed a shirt whilst wearing it and burnt your chest.
Yeah, I know. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
At least 40.
I dropped a little bit. I was the 3rd dumbest athlete in a while. So anytime someone does something to trump me, I go down the list a little bit.
What is the best excuse you heard for somebody? You don't have to give names, but somebody who missed time, they got hurt. Did you have?
I couldn't believe some of them. Like I've heard.
Okay, wait. Let's take a break.
All right.
And if it's teammates, I don't want you to, out anybody. But if you do, it's better radio. If you do that, just say.
Well, some of them are on the list. You can look them up.
Okay, so we'll talk about the excuses that guys, because Rob Dibble told me one where a guy was out drinking at night, and he stepped off the curb and either broke his ankle or sprained his ankle really bad. They got him to the ballpark the next day, afternoon at Wrigley, and then he fell, quote unquote, in the outfield during BP. And then they went, oh, God, Skip, come out and check this out. So he made it seem like he put on his uniform with a ankle that's, like a grapefruit. And they dragged him out like Weekend at Bernie's. And then all of a sudden he's fallen in the outfield. All right, we'll come back with John Smoltz, MLB Network, after this. Before I get to embarrassing injuries and guys who made up stories on your team or maybe other teams that you heard of, I did want to ask you about stealing signs with the Red Sox and the Yankees. Still haven't gotten any kind of decision, which I hope baseball doesn't treat it the way football does.
Right.
And this would be, a year-long process here. Is there really something that's that definitive, a right way and a wrong way to steal signs?
I mean, I think there is. I don't think there's anything that's in the rule books, but when you're brought up in the game and you understand the physical standpoint of seeing something and translating that to your teammate, that's something that, if you're gonna give away signs, like a pitcher gives away signs with his glove or his mouth or anything, and if a hitter goes, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna, I'm sorry, no, that's part of the game. And if the catcher can't decode his signs or the catcher cannot get out, that is part of what we've always understood was part of taking advantage of within the game. Technology, now that's a different thing because technology finally came into the game where you see iPads on the bench so that a batter or a pitcher could look at previous at-bats or previous. Now, there's no way to kind of utilize that because it's only confined to that. But when you have technology like a watch or if you go underneath, see, we used to chart all the time in the clubhouse. And you're seeing the signals of signs, just like if a man on second.
Yeah.
So if you don't change those or decode them, that's on you. But I think the technology part, that's not on you. That's something that has to be addressed.
Did you guys steal signs?
Yeah, and we lost 104 games. We were so proud of stealing signs. I got him. And it didn't mean anything. We had Oral Hershiser's pitches during his streak.
So 1988?
Yeah, he shut us out. We had every pitch. That's how good we
sure
were.
Helped.
Listen.
You knew what was coming with Hershiser and still couldn't touch it.
Yeah. So we were so bad that one of our goals was, well, if we can steal signs, maybe give us a better chance. I was at the plate and I got the sign for the first time, and I was a very limited batter, and I knew a fastball was coming, and I came out of my shoes. I hit a home run, but I hit it to right field. I couldn't still pull the ball, but I was so excited. I wanted to hug the guy that gave me signs. He's like, stop. Don't be so blatant. But those are the things and there would be surprised how many.
Wait, you homered off Hershiser?
No. This was another time.
Okay.
When you as a hitter, when you know an area's coming or eliminated, if you know the pitch is going to be in a certain area, that eliminates certain pitches, so you can actually give yourself a better chance. Now, it's surprising how many guys don't want to know what's coming for fear that they might be wrong, meaning you sell out for a fastball or a slider. But yeah, the part of trying to get an advantage on the field has a way of taking care of itself as long as you're not so blatant and the third base coach is like walking to the dugout when it's a fastball or certain things like that.
Did you tip your pitches?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had.
How long did it take for somebody? When do you know that you're tipping your pitches?
When you can't figure out what's going wrong and they're absolutely tattooing balls, meaning it's translating from team to team. So one team beats you up, no big deal. Second team does it, and the third team does it. You're like, something's going on. I had the most enjoyable golf tournament conversation with a guy who had a few drinks in him who told me that we have your pitches. And I went, oh, my gosh, thank you. I was been wondering about that. The year was over. He goes, we got your pitches, but it's not coming from you. It's coming from your catcher. And I went, oh, that's even better news. And so we were able to fix that in a nice little golf tournament postseason.
All right, some injury. The best injury, cover-up for an injury that you had, that you heard was what?
That's the interesting part when the cover-up part. I'm going to speak. I think they knew I did this. I was a basketball coach in the offseason. So my first couple years with the Braves, I coached freshman basketball, loved it, had a time of my life, and I would train and play with the players. It's the last practice of the week of the year, and I'm going to spring training. They said, Coach, come on, do the drill we always do. I said, nah, I can't take these chances. I got to go to big league camp. They come on, Coach. They did it. I thought I broke my ankle. And I went into the training room table. I couldn't fly. It was horrible. And I went to spring training and tried to do everything I could and did those drills, and my ankle kept blowing up. And I said, well, I got to be honest. I was training in the offseason, running the stairs, and I rolled my ankle. I was scared to death. They knew exactly what happened.
So you lied.
And I did lie. And I'm glad to get that off my chest, actually, after all these years of
Is this the first time you told it?
It is.
Yeah.
But
you feel better?
They knew.
Yeah.
They knew I was the best ball player.
Explain this to me. A.J. Brzezinski, who played catcher for, 19 years in the major leagues, he said that he would see Glavine and Maddox get like a foot off the plate and get those calls, and he said he was fine with that because they had earned it.
Yeah.
Now, why do I give the best players, Hall of Fame pitchers, 300-game winners, more credit than a guy who's just trying to hang on in the major leagues on a roster?
Well, I think, obviously, having watched them my whole career, they put so much pressure and were so precise that the pressure on the strike zone for the umpire when a catcher's not moving his glove consistently is unbelievable. And, yes, the strike zone was different back then. I think anybody in that era who could throw the ball to an area consistently were going to get more calls and put pressure on. And I think the fact that they were probably the two that everyone goes to because they were so good that in any strike zone they would have flourished knowing where to go to get that extra inch or two.
It's like Jordan getting the calls.
Maybe. Yeah. But I also know that when they made a specific change over those two, it was tougher transition for Glavine until he realized he could still, that's when they changed the strike zone and they were going to call the strike zone. And he struggled for a while, but then he adapted because anybody who is good enough to do what they were doing before could learn to do it differently.
Explain what it's like. And I don't know if Pujols was in the same category as Bonds, but Pujols, that first 10 years with the Cardinals was pretty incredible. What was it like, though? And I know it's right-hander on right-hander. I don't know if that was that big of a benefit to you, but going in and facing Pujols how was that?
I felt like I could get any right-hander out in the big leagues. I really felt that way until this guy by the name of Pujols shows up, because he was so comfortable. It's an eerie reminder of Gary Sanchez. Reminds me of Pujols, the way he the way he sits in the box, the way he waits, and he has so much power. But Pujols was literally the machine where, until later in my career, I figured out I could open a door here and do something different. I felt helpless. I felt like he just knew what was coming. He never exerted his body. He never got out in front. And I don't mind saying that he was the scariest right-handed hitter that could do everything that you didn't want a hitter to do off of you. He didn't have a weakness, and that's why he was so great for 10 years.
Plus, you had to have him get himself out.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that people forget, and even with like Aaron Judge, the pitchers were so afraid of Aaron Judge in the first half that they couldn't get the ball where they wanted to, and he crushed everything. Well, he expands the zone a little bit, and it's not that the pitchers found weaknesses. They just were more it was almost like, oh, we can do this. We can go down and away. We can go up. So it freed them up a little bit. And that a hitter either exposes himself at times and then learns how to adjust, but he helped the whole league out by saying, oh, he's human and we can go here. Because in the first half, they were more coaxed into errors than they were coaxed into being aggressive now that you're seeing a different approach in the second half.
When Bonds hit 73 and he's, walked 200 and some,
right?
I don't know how many. I'm guessing he could have hit. If you pitch to him, he's hitting 90 home runs?
Yeah.
Would that be fair?
People don't understand. They don't understand. He got one pitch in at bat and didn't miss it. And if he didn't get the pitch, he walked. He totally changed a lineup that I would argue was not that good of a lineup, but he made that lineup so much better because he did take his walk. He would get mad and steal if he needed to. The game was being taken from him because he was so good at that point. And he wanted guys to challenge him, but he knew if you challenged him, he was going to embarrass you. That's how good and locked in he was. The one I had to pitch during that time where he was looking to break the record, I had to go in to his locker room to get actually worked on by a different guy, and he saw me, and it was the worst thing that I didn't want him to see me. I'm pitching that game, and we had a kind of a different relationship where we'd razz each other, and he went off on me. saying, "Not in my house, Smoltz. You pitch to me. You understand? Don't you not pitch to me." And I'm like, oh, that's not what I want. And I survived it. I did get him. I pitched to him. And I pitched to him a lot, which is probably why I have 9 home runs.
Even if he was cheating, to still do what he did, getting 1 pitch per at bat.
It's unbelievable.
And to do, because there are other guys who've cheated too, and they're not coming close to what he was doing.
Not even close. And look, I pitched to him my whole career, and I unashamedly say he was the best player I've ever seen and pitched against. I didn't pitch against Ken Griffey Jr. all those years that he was the best in the American League. I only got Ken Griffey Jr. later in his career. And what Barry could do with Pittsburgh, what he could do, obviously, as he progressed in the game, he was the triple threat. He's everything that you didn't want when a hitter stood in the box.
He's John Smoltz, Hall of Famer, Major League Baseball Network analyst. Here's some of the injuries. John is on this list. So Roger Craig of the Giants, manager, cut his hand on a bra strap. I'm assuming it wasn't his bra strap, but he's on this list. Mickey Tettleton once missed action because of athlete's foot. He tied his shoes too tight. Ryan Klesko, your former teammate, he pulled a muscle picking up a lunch tray.
Really? He's on there?
Yeah, Klesko's on here.
The drone incident last year is going to get it.
Yeah,
but that's not on the list.
No. Brett Barbary missed a game after he got chili juice in his eye.
Back in the day,
what was he drinking when he got chili juice in his eye?
When the hot foot was such a big thing, where you light the guy's shoestring.
Yeah.
My teammate back in A-ball got me in so much trouble because why is it when you see fire on a shoestring, you put it out with your fingers, especially your pitching hand? What makes you think that that's a good idea? And that's exactly what he did. He got blisters and missed his start, and I got in trouble.
Did you ever do hot foot in the major leagues?
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. When we were losing 104 games, what else was there to do?
But you couldn't do that to Maddox and risk, like burning up his leg or something.
He wouldn't put it out with his pitching hand, I can tell you that.
But he was worse. He would have done it to other people, wouldn't he? Or he was far too cerebral to do something like a hot foot.
Yeah, he wouldn't do hot foot. He would do things that you can't say in this air. But we eventually had to get it banned because it got so bad that we called it the train. Like if I was going to give you a hot foot and you were playing cards, so I snuck behind you. So I'm on my hands and knees. My feet are exposed. The guy behind me is doing mine while the guy behind him is doing his. It got out of hand. And
too much free time, man.
Once we started winning, we stopped the hot foot.
Okay, your World Series picks.
Well, when you have these beginning of the year, you pick 2 teams and you think you know what you're doing. And obviously now broadcasting them, I realize I get to broadcast them, but I don't know. In the beginning of the year, I did see Boston and L.A. Obviously, there's always going to be things that change, and matchups are so key to how you get to the end in the World Series, who you avoid. Because, for example, in the National League, if you're the Washington Nationals and now you have a chance to get the best record and you can avoid going through the Cubs and the Dodgers, that's different than – so it's this is what I like. Now broadcasting the games and getting a chance to do it, there will not be a bad matchup. And that's what we saw last year, and I think we're going to see it again. The wild card in the American League, with the Yankees kind of putting themselves in a position to win the division and secure themselves, they're a dangerous series team, meaning if they get in a series, they're dangerous.
And that bullpen.
Yes. And the fact is, though, if they have to get through the one-game play-in game, I think it makes them a little less dangerous, and that's what the wild card game has been there for, to try to give a disadvantage to that team who has to play the one game.
John, good to see you. Always great that you stop in and have fun during the postseason.
Thank you, and I'll keep an eye out now. I'm looking to move down in the ranks, actually, in this dumb injury.
Dumb injury list. But maybe, you're immortalized. Yeah,
that's true. But maybe I can encourage a couple guys to do something
stupid. But for the record, John did not iron a shirt while it was on his one. It was a steamer.
Yeah, portable steamer.
Portable steamer. You'd get a sponsorship out of that, couldn't you?
You
could have. You could have. Had you embraced it, you could have.
Arsenio Hall had me on the air.
You went on Arsenio to talk about it?
No, that's what happened right when news broke. I made Arsenio Hall.
He talked about it.
Yeah, he said, no wonder the Braves can't win games. He said, this Joe Smoltz guy burned himself by ironing his shirt.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.